Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Aisha Subarkash. Tensions in the Black Sea have escalated dramatically since Russia withdrew from the landmark grain deal last month. On Sunday, a Russian warship fired warning shots at a cargo vessel shortly before soldiers boarded the ship to inspect after its captain refused to stop. Moscow claims the vessel was sailing to the Ukrainian port of Izmail and has earlier said all ships heading to Ukrainian ports will be considered military targets. Moscow's action has led to more congestion in the Black Sea shipping lanes, with an estimated 60 vessels now stuck in Ukrainian ports. As tensions in the Black Sea and Russia's exit from the grain deal rattles global markets and drives up food prices, Latvia and Romania have come forward to find outlets for Ukrainian grain. Latvia has recently announced it could begin exporting Ukrainian grain through its ports this autumn, with volumes possibly reaching 1 million tons per year. And Romania aims to double the monthly transit capacity of Ukrainian grain to its flagship Black Sea port of Constanta to 4 million tons in the coming months. And now to discuss latest tensions in the Black Sea, joining me now from Uppsala, Sweden, is Gregory Simons. He is a political analyst. And from Milan, Eleonora Tafura Ambrosetti. She is a senior research fellow at the Italian Institute for International Political Studies. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Eleonora, how tense is the situation in the Black Sea, especially after a Russian warship fired warning shots on a cargo vessel on Sunday?
It is very tense. It actually adds up to existing tensions, and it says a lot about the deterioration of the security situation after Russia decided to withdraw from the grain deal last July. So it's not just an economic issue. Of course, the consequences are far more broad-reaching, because it's obviously a situation that could escalate, and it could involve other states as well.
So, Gregory, following its withdrawal from the deal, Russia has said any ship in the Black Sea would be considered a military target. Is this in line with the international law as well as the freedom of navigation?
Well, you have a war zone and things are different there. I mean, every country in a military zone has similar methods. I mean, one can even say, Australia does a similar thing in policing its northern zone, and there is no war there. The problem being that Ukraine has been using the shipping lanes for things other than what they promised to initially. So you have a lack of trust, you have a war, you have this deteriorating relations, this spiral. Ukraine has threatened to target all Russian shipping in the Black Sea. So, you've got this mutual escalation. And what Russia is doing here is, it's not declaring it to be an enemy vessel, but what it's declaring it's declaring the right to check whether it is carrying military cargo. So this is something else, and it's what all belligerents do in a theatre of war, especially concerning shipping and lanes at sea.
Yes. But Eleonora, this is the first time that Russia has fired on a cargo vessel beyond Ukraine since quitting this grain deal. So is Moscow expanding its scope? And is there any indication that the deal will get back on track?
So, first of all, Moscow is making a point here. So it's not declaring war on any other party, let's say, but it's just making sure that its interest and its voice is being heard. As far as the grain deal is concerned, there are no indications that the deal can be revitalized, can be resumed. The problem is that the Russian part is not being implemented according to Moscow, and there are objective reasons why it cannot be implemented. Of course, the situation can be changed if Russia is given an incentive to sit back at the negotiation table. But so far, the position of Moscow is quite tense and severe.
So, Gregory, I mean, how does this impact Turkey's presence in the Black Sea, as well as the future of talks on the resumption of the grain deal? And can this be construed as undermining factor on Turkey's facilitating role between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, if one puts it diplomatically, it definitely makes Turkey's role much more challenging as a balancer, and to somehow weigh these two things, which seemingly cannot come together at this point in time. As Eleonora said, you got differences are too big at this stage. But this does not mean that Turkey should give up by any means. I mean, Turkey will need to try and find these common grounds, and then to work with what little common ground there is to bring back the possibility. But as I say, I mean, Ukraine's stance and Russia's stance at this stage, I mean, you seem to have this rather entrenched stalemate at this point.
So, Eleonora, despite the Russian threats, Ukraine has just recently said the first cargo ship exited the Black Sea port via the new corridor. What's your take on that? And is Kiev deliberately stoking tensions?
No, I don't think this is an aggressive act on the part of Kiev. This is just a necessity because Ukraine's economy is in tatters after the Russian invasion. And so it must get the grain out. Also because the other routes, then of course there is the Danube route, there is the possibility to transfer the grain from land, from Poland, Bulgaria, Hungary. But the problem is that the Eastern European countries are more and more angry at the Ukrainian grain that is taking local prices down because there is an excessive offer of grain. So Russia knows very well that there are stoking tensions between these Eastern European countries and Ukraine when it comes to Ukrainian exports. So for Ukraine, is all more important to get the grain out, avoiding land transfers.
But Gregory, how would that latest incident by Russia affect international shipping companies and in particular insurers, bearing in mind the risk that now comes with exporting Ukraine grain?
Well, I mean, as it stands now, I mean, theoretically, there is nothing to stop foreign vessels from entering and leaving Ukrainian ports if they submit to inspection by Russian warships. If they do not submit to inspection, then you'll get the incident shots across the bow until the ship stops and is boarded and inspected. Otherwise, I mean, if they comply with the Russian demands in terms of inspecting shipping for the reasons they outlined to ensure that there's nothing being contributed to the Ukrainian war effort, then there's nothing to stop legitimate commercial activity.
So, Eleonora, Latvia has already proposed exporting Ukrainian grain via Baltic ports as of autumn, and Romania also aims to double the monthly transit capacity of grain at its port to 4 million tons in the coming months. So what's your take on that? I mean, could such moves ensure the constant flow of Ukrainian exports to the world?
Well, this is what Ukraine expects because Latvia and Romania are NATO members. So in theory, an action by Moscow towards these countries would be covered by NATO Article 5. So Ukraine feels safer to transport through those two countries. The problem is, of course, that the volumes of grain that can be shipped through these two countries are much lower still compared to the tons that can be shipped through the Black Sea.
So, Gregory, is this another irritant for Russia, and how would that impact the security of the Baltic Sea?
Well, I mean, this is a lot of theoretical stuff. I mean, as has been noted by Eleonora, I mean, you've got Poland, Hungary, and other Central European countries that are getting increasingly irritated by Ukrainian grain, and they are already lobbying the EU to ensure that the ban is extended because the ban ends this September. So, I mean, you've got a lot of things which makes these other alternative grain transport routes uncertain, and no doubt we will see very soon whether the Polish initiative to increase and lengthen the ban is successful, in which case this would create problems for facilitating such exports wishes.
So, Eleanor, is this and this, current tensions likely to cause disruption in global food chains, especially to Africa?
Well, of course, the percentage of grain that was shipped directly to the poorest countries in Africa is relatively low because over 40% of the grain was shipped to first world countries, and 25% roughly was shipped to China, which sometimes is still considered a developing country, but is the second largest economy in the world. So Russia was making this point, but the point of the deal was not to ship the grain directly to the poorest country. The objective was to put a lot of grain in the global market and to reduce global prices. And in that case, the deal was successful because the price went down. Mm-hmm. So the risk now is that the price will remain high or will remain highly volatile.
So, Gregory, what options does Turkey have at the moment, especially, could it secure a new grain deal between Ukraine and Russia? Is there a common ground for that?
At this stage, no. There is no common ground. You don't have trust. I mean, Russia, according to their rhetoric, feel as though the ends of the deal have not been met. And so this creates a problem for Turkey because, yes. I mean, Turkey can't really, shall we say, influence or coerce Ukraine's behavior. And Ukraine's behavior, of course, influences Turkey's ability to be able to negotiate a deal between the two of them. So, I mean, you've got this vicious cycle which is going around, and at the moment it's in a rather negative formation, and it's going to be very difficult to get out of this.
All right, Gregory and Eleanor, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.